I don't know if there was any traffic coming this way. I couldn't really tell. Call to order and Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which God.
Roll call. Chelsea said that Doug had a conflict and is not here. Otherwise, we have all the members of the AAC here. Public comment? No comment at this time. Approval of minutes from January 20th, 2021.
Sam Lurie, I move to approve the minutes.
Craig Holmes, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mooring Field and staff report.
Austin Gilchrist, Town of Fort Myers Beach Harbor Master. Everything is moving smoothly throughout the field. Really no issues to report at this time. Pump outs are running about, I think it's about 600 to 700 gallons a week now. We're doing weekly pump outs of the boat. We've rearranged some of the vessels in the field. We moved a couple boats to the backfield depending on their lease and the changing of their leases and their agreements with the town. What else is going on? We did lose ball 36. For some reason, that ball did pop. We notified the engineer about it. We have a replacement ball, but we're just waiting for weather to cooperate so we can go and replace that actually just that ball on that system there. Let's see what else is going on. That's about it. So we did get an email, I think, about the special purpose buoys, correct? Yeah, so I know on that first one, we've had an issue with these buoys in the past, especially with the current and how strong the current is right under that bridge. It seems to be pushing the buoys down to where only the top of the can is pretty much exposed. And to me, I brought that to the engineer's attention as well. That does present a hazard for boaters, especially it being below the water line at times. So we're looking into, and I did make a call yesterday, and we've got to get together and discuss options that we do have for changing the designs of those buoys and what is out there that we can acquire that will correct that issue there. So we have looked into it in the past, but every time we do send divers down to do our 3-month checks, that's the first spot we check is that one there, just to make sure. That
particular one seems to have a real issue, and that's a real easy one to short.
To clip. It's been clipped a couple times. I have had to replace it with prop marks in it. So yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Chelsea?
Yeah, I just want to add, Chelsea Riley, Public Works Director. We have had a couple written complaints in the last month or two regarding the services that were provided. And so we actually have a monthly meeting with Matanzas to try to correct some of those issues. Even so far as offering staff, to be down there. I know it's a season for everybody. But we are working to resolve some of those issues, albeit trainings or learning the system better or communicating better with the patrons, providing alternative or options that if maybe someone isn't so technologically savvy, for them to come into the office. There is a computer there for the staff to walk through the system. We're working to address some of those issues with Matanzas.
Do you have any specifics?
One, there was an elderly couple didn't know how to operate DACWA. They contacted DACWA. It was actually while I was out. They had contacted DACWA. They contacted Austin. They contacted Matanzas, and they didn't know how to operate the system. And Austin, I think, didn't you actually go out to their vessel?
Yeah.
And tried to help them. And so I ended up calling them and told them, contact Matanzas, make a time, go in the office. If they're busy, set up a meeting and have them walk you through how to use the system. I think we're finding where a lot of users might have used DACWA elsewhere and they forget that they have an account, and so when they go to register, they have an old email associated to it and they may not have access to that email, etc. So, and then I think, we're month 5 into this. We're trying to work some of the kinks out with, we don't accept your reservation until you're actually physically here. And Matanzas has voiced that as a concern, a difficulty that they're experiencing with the patrons because they're waitlisted until they arrive. And so oftentimes a boater, as you all know, is coming from elsewhere, and a day out, they want to know if there's availability, and there's some difficulties with that, but that's kind of the nature of the beast of operating a first come, first serve mooring field.
Is there communication on the reservation site that is true well enough?
I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay, I just wondered because there are other marinas and mooring fields around that is exactly the same thing, and then there are others that you can actually make a reservation, so I'm just wondering.
I think part of it is responsiveness, and they get waitlisted, they send a message through DACWA, and they're not getting a prompt response, and they're traveling, so they need to know within a set time period of do they need to make plans elsewhere. I did see that experience. They didn't get a response in time, so they ended up going to Salty Sam's.
That's my comment. Yeah, I used Dockwall twice on my last sailing trip, one in Stock Island and one in Marathon. I had no problems. It was excellent, but I did do a phone call follow-up just to double check because I didn't get the feedback quick like I wanted, but they said, no, you're in, you're fine, no issues.
Well, and two, technology, I am a big, I push for them, for Matanzas and the end user to use the messaging system through DACWA. That way there's a history, it's time stamped, it's date stamped, it's, I can see the conversation that's going on, and oftentimes Matanzas, they like to pick up the phone and call somebody, which I get that too, but I'm trying to get them to start to use the messaging system. That way we can see where's the breakdown of communication. So, but again, we're working through all these kinks. Matanzas is working with us. We're trying to figure out the system, how to better the system, working with TRIP, with DACWA. But like I said, there have been a couple instances where I've received emails from some unhappy customers. They've got declined or waitlisted, and then they rode their dinghy and saw vacant halls, and were angry and why they didn't receive an assignment. So just little things like that we're trying to work through and progress. So.
Got a question for staff report. I was hoping Rexanne would be here, but maybe Chelsea can answer for me. I watched the town council meeting yesterday for 3 hours. One mention of Harbor House. Is that dead, or are they discussing it?
So right now, I was going to wait to say that later, but
Okay.
Peggy brought it up.
Upland service
You can wait.
provider.
You want me to wait?
Let's wait till the
Yeah,
upland
wait for-
service
yeah.
provider. I'm sure there's lots to do with that, maybe.
Okay.
I'm hoping, Ted, I think you had something about numbers.
Well, I was just inquiring about, I sent forward through Chelsea to the finance, our old format and so forth. I did so twice because I wasn't sure I had successfully done so the first time. And I have an open inquiry as to when we will receive the numbers from the last part of last year and start our monthly monthly report and in what form it will be. I think we've waited long enough to at least get a projection of when this is going to occur.
I can only speak to what I was given, and is what you all were given. So this is unaudited year-end numbers.
I think we're talking the
Talking
monthly
about our annual,
numbers.
They're right now working on auditing the last 3 months' worth of information and comparing that to DACWA. I know that they've made a little headway into it. I can't speak to their timeline. I did forward every email that you've sent inquiring. I did actually, why we got this was I sent an email to our finance director yesterday explaining that I know that this committee wants numbers and that we need to give you all something. And I can only ask the question to them.
yeah, I
We just
understand
wanna see
that.
the
And
occupation, you know.
the occupancy rates is, I mean,
we want the figures for occupancy and income on a monthly basis. Do they intend to do so?
okay. I can relay the message.
And if they do not intend to do so, we will pass a motion asking them again to do so. That seem reasonable, Chairman?
Yes. Well, and, it goes into the question of the expansion and the upland service provider. To me, it doesn't make sense to expand the field if we're not filling the field up. And so, we got to have numbers to know that.
Can I speak to that? Because we have had some instances lately where we have had one or two larger vessels trying to come into the field, and us trying to accommodate those larger vessels and the swing radius. And Austin was able to accommodate them, but, by doing this one larger vessel on ball number 1, we potentially lose the lease of ball number 2 or 3, et cetera. So just because we're not full doesn't mean,
I understand that, but, it's,
Well, but we talked about, you don't necessarily always have to put balls on it right away, but we have management and control of it being an Anchorage area, which we have no control right now. Well, it's still a good
well,
thing for
I
us
mean,
to have
we're
it.
still working through that part of it.
And you can put
but-
bigger boats on the expansion, right, Austin? So there's a lot of pluses there.
Yeah.
Right now, we got a derelict vessel out there. I thought they're gonna remove it. Now it looks like somebody squatted on it, and put a tent up on it and living on it. Sitting out right in front of Pink Shell.
occupancy and monthly revenues that's what you're asking for.
Basically, yes.
Occupancy rate.
And we would like to review the format that they intend to do it so that we can figure out whether we can learn by it. In other words, if they're not going to follow the old format, we'd like to consult with them about what format it will come to us so that we can compare it to the past and get an idea of what's going on a monthly basis. That's my opinion. I don't know whether we need to have everybody else decide whether they have that opinion or not, but we've followed it now.
I meet with them on Friday about talk with Matanzas and finance director. So let me mention this again to them. I hate to keep dragging everybody, this along, but let me talk to them and explain. You want simply occupancy and monthly revenues. And truthfully, that I believe that's a report I can run on DACWA, but if it's trying to compare it to past data, that's that Excel book, as you all know, whereas I can click a button and run a report on DACWA. So you wouldn't necessarily have the historical data comparison, but we would have October 1st of 2020 through
On a monthly basis.
DACWA.
On a monthly basis.
It's something I have to ask them
Okay,
if they're,
well,
because
my point is, we can put some of that data into the spreadsheet ourselves if we have the data.
Okay.
But we need to at least start at it. It would be nice to have a conversation so that we can do it the most efficiently for you all and most efficiently for us.
Anything further on mooring field and staff report?
I have one question on this. On page 1, where it says law enforcement,
hold on, there's 2 page ones. So look at the top and tell me if it's maritime or if it's mooring.
maritime.
Okay.
The law enforcement, is that just for the mooring field, or does that include like a broader?
That's just the WCIND grant.
Oh, that's the grant, okay. I gotcha.
We had a $50,000 grant last year, and we only did $40,000 of it.
And then, on the next page, I'll call it the mooring field operations, the contracted services, the 86,000 number, I take it that's our upland provider?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I got.
Now, the maritime is that all?
Everything that is not mooring field, that is not
Okay.
a direct cost or expense or revenue to the mooring field.
The other is strictly, the mooring operations is strictly the mooring field.
So if Austin needs a pump out hose, if it's a buoy, if it's getting coastal engineering to do something for the mooring field, anything direct mooring field related, that's where that goes.
Okay. So essentially,
Again, so let me just point out, these are unaudited numbers, and
Right.
and I haven't had the time to look at this because I got it late yesterday, but if you look on Maritime and you see harborage user fees, there's a $330 balance. Harborage user fees is the mooring field. That should be in mooring operations.
Okay.
So again, these are unaudited numbers.
so there's still some work to do with some of this
Needs to be
to
cleaned up.
straighten it out.
Yep, exactly.
Now, I realize, again, it's unaudited. Am I reading it correctly on the mooring operations that we made $30,000? Or we're $30,000 in the hole?
We're 30, good. Both are good. Both
Okay.
are good.
How did we do that?
COVID. COVID. That's my answer for everything. It's COVID. Well, think about it. I mean, for what, 1 or 2 months, we were just operating for those within the mooring field. You know, we weren't out there like we normally were. The season was cut short,
Right.
et cetera. Pinched our pennies last year.
Yeah.
Mike Ratliff for the record, just to reinforce Ted's point, we are one of the few committees that actually has budgetary issues. Because we take, mooring field takes in revenue and we have expenses. I just want to reinforce Ted, it would really be helpful if we could see an ongoing month-to-month accounting of expenses and income, et cetera, just so that we have an idea of where we stand. And I understand these really don't apply to what I think we're asking for. But it's an
Well,
effort.
I did ask for this report because we have gotten a yearly report too, which I think also is important. Because years ago, that's how we found out we were paying, the mooring field was paying
Right.
for law enforcement for the whole of the island. So I think it's important that we get this, but we should get both, I believe. Anything else? Oh, in other words, they're in the process of auditing this and figuring out and making sure it's in the right place. But this gives us kind of a snapshot of what's going on. Okay. Let's move on to expansion of the mooring field update.
So town council meetings ago approved the harbor management plan update. And so we had gotten all of the signatures on that hot off the press and forwarded that along to DEP. And so we're waiting for them to review the updated harbor management plan and finalize the permit. And we're hoping to get that within the next month or so, 6 weeks. And as you know, council approved us applying for the FBIP grant, the Florida Boating Improvement Program, which we have received that grant in the past. So that grant application we're doing is up to $200,000 for the expansion. And so that closes, I believe, April 6th. Part of that grant application package, we're trying to push DEP to get us this permit so we can include it, because that'll just build our case that we have a shovel-ready yes, but no shovel-ready project to implement. And that wouldn't, if awarded, wouldn't occur until next fiscal year.
Anything further on expansion of the mooring field? Hopefully we'll get that grant. I mean, I know that's why we had to do the management plan and, so.
Austin, do you want to touch on how you met with the sheriff and kind of put together game plans?
Yeah, so we did meet with Lieutenant Nice with the Lee County Sheriff's Department about stepping up patrol in our area, especially with the season upon us. We get with him on the weekends. We gave them access to DOCO. We set them up with an account so they can do a dock walk with their staff when they are in the area to see who is registered to be in the mooring field and who is not. Let's see, every Saturday morning, I believe, is when they send out the patrol to come check the field out. And I wouldn't even only say Saturday, I would say over the weekends within itself. I'm going to go ahead and request that he do send out more patrols during the week, because we are starting to see an influx of boaters throughout the week as well. I'm starting to get an influx of complaints as well, as far as like wakes and just unsafe boating habits taking place in the Bay Area. But other than that, we've set up a plan of attack as far as regulating more on the Anchorage area as well, having safety checks done on those vessels as they would any recreational vessel as well, as far as safety, your flares, your life jackets and things like that. We are checking into dye tabs as well and what it would take for them to do dye tabs in the Anchorage area to go ahead and track anybody that is doing illicit dumping in the bay. We did touch also on the marinas in the area, as far as the regulation and who's checking out our marinas with the slips and the liveaboards and the slips. I've touched with the Department of Natural Resources as well, as far as getting the marinas checked out and regulated as well. I don't know if I've brought this up in the past, but we do get requests to come in there and pump out individual vessels within our jurisdiction where the marinas are at, but it seems to be only 1 or 2 vessels are getting pumped out on a regular basis with marinas with 30 slips that are pretty much full, and you can see liveaboards within those marinas. We also touched on getting together with FWC and Coast Guard about covering all the areas of enforcement in our area, whether it be derelict vessels, unsafe boating habits, safety checks, and then anything anchoring, any anchorage regulations as well. Was there any questions about that?
Bay too.
Go ahead, Ted.
Do we know what the status of the speed regulations are around the mooring field now? Those seems to have been changing back and forth all and up and down the island. When they took away our idle speed, what's the status on that?
Yeah, I believe we're still under the slow speed regulations.
As
Not
opposed
so
to
much
idle?
as like idle speed. There is idle speed upon any state regulated area, so it would be the 500 feet within the Fendered Bridge, any place that sells the public fuel, or any marina that harbors mega yachts as well. Those have 500-foot no wake buffers around them as well, or any public ramp areas.
Does that apply to our field?
500 feet is so it would be 500 feet with any of those areas, which pretty much creates a bubble around like Moss Marina, Diversified, our Fendered Bridge, Salty Sam's. There's another area, I think it's Gulf Shore Marina or whatever, that sells public fuel that would fall under the no wake. But then again, all that does fall under enforcement, and who's enforcing the no wake is basically what it falls back on. So that's where we're meeting with the Sheriff's Department to step up patrol into having the no wake enforced where they do need to be enforced.
FWC has been enforcing that on the south end of the island, but it has been changing down there, and nobody's quite sure what the rules are anymore, so.
That's understandable. Yeah, I know that we have made some strides in getting a no wake zone put in behind the Bay Beach Lane area.
Chad's working on that, our environmental guy.
I get it, I think a year-round manatee zone, right?
Yeah.
It's been very successful for
That's
other
it.
communities to get
We're
that
in the
done.
process
Good.
of doing that.
It's certainly not being, it's all much awake there now.
You mentioned at yesterday's meeting that they're doing the signage on that. They're working on the signage now, so it should be posted the whole way through.
Great, so yeah, so that's what's going on with that. And then we did update our Otsego Bay oil spill training. Once a year, our crew gets together with other crews in the area, and we go ahead and we do our mock test in the back bay with oil spills. So we did complete our yearly training on that this week as well.
One last thing. Yesterday, Town Council approved us applying for the WCIND grant for next fiscal year. So we're going to apply for, again, the same amount of money, $50,000, $35,000 grant request, $15,000 match. So we're putting together that grant application, and that's due in April as well. So all the grants are due this time of year, peak season.
Okay, anything? We were on expansion of the mooring field, so anything further on that? Let's move to the upland service provider.
Okay, so a couple meetings ago, council had a lengthy discussion of the Harbor House option. Town manager, myself, and the town attorney have been tasked to put together a terms sheet, TRMS terms, every worst case scenario, to present to the HOA, different ideas and options. So we're working on that and trying to get that out relatively soon, and potentially the next step may be an appraisal depending on what happens, and then council would have to make the decision whether or not to procure.
I just wanted to comment, because Rexanne was at that meeting. She definitely represented us as far as all the doubts and all the questions that we had. I thought she did a really good job, if anybody watched that, about bringing up all the potential negatives of it. So I think you guys are on the right track with what the questions we had here were expressed. It wasn't brought up yesterday, but is it on a future?
We have to work through the terms sheet first. I can tell you that this summer we are preparing the bid event. We have to go out to bid, either put it out to bid and have at my back pocket in the event this falls through. As you know, the contract with Matanzas expires December 1st. Will be a summer project.
Well, unless this is finished before then, but may or may not be, of course. Okay. So essentially, we're working through the process of.
Yes.
Is there any future dates on the calendar with a sheet or a sheet or any what will happen that we should watch for next as far as?
I'll keep you updated, and if it's in between meetings, I'll be sure to send you all an email. Like I said, right now, trying to work with the town attorney and try to get it through him and communicating to the HOA, and then the HOA needs to really take it to their board, at least so they understand the bigger picture of what it is we're asking. In the event this does go through, all of the worst case scenarios of operating such facility. So that's kind of what we've got on paper and trying to work that out. So.
Other questions?
They decided what they're gonna do with the fountain.
Yep, town council approved moving forward with 100% design and bidding that out. So you'll see a smaller rendition of the stage that is proposed for Times Square in Bayside Park, where the gazebo sits currently. Some shade sails, artificial turf, a seat wall, a garden with some type of veterans tribute, and a shade tree. Our vice mayor was adamant about a shade tree, so we just finalized picking the location of that yesterday, and we're moving forward with that bid package, hoping to get that out here relatively soon. Hoping under construction this summer.
I think they missed the boat on that one. that should have been for the town Anchorage. It's my thought.
Anything further in?
I
move-
would be remiss in telling you all to always, and I'm sure the vice mayor would say this if she were here, regardless of what happens in the future, we always need to keep an eye out on any potential opportunities out there in the event this does fall through with the Harbor House. So if you see or hear of anything, please let us know. We always have our eyes and ears out as well. The market's hot right now, I'm sure you know. But like I said, please, 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 as we're talking about something, you know, I'm always looking for a backup plan.
Strategic plan review, communication plan. Any ideas or thoughts?
We are, Randy has been working on some of the items tasked for, that were tasked for him. Right now, this is kind of, again, like we've said the past couple meetings, this is kind of on the back burner until we get a decision made by council, how we're going to proceed. But there has been some headway on some of the items, you know, at least some research and due diligence on staff's part. But like I said, it's peak season right now for us, so not to make an excuse, but trying to set our priorities with the Harbor House and the terms and other projects. So.
That's good that we did the task list, because whatever way we proceed, we can implement, we can at least have a checklist to try to get those things.
Exactly.
Well, and some of the items that we want to do, dependent on how we proceed with our upland provider, plus COVID changes a lot of the things that we are not able to do or whatever. So I think some of the things are kind of on hold in our plan for several reasons.
Well, and if you all review the plan and you have an idea or, you know, something maybe we want to reprioritize up to the top of the list that maybe we can do sooner than later, let us know, let Austin, let myself know, and we can try to, you know, get that at the top. If it's something as small as, I don't know, putting a pamphlet out, you know, that's something we can do internally. But just, if you are reviewing the plan and you see, you know, something, let us know.
I haven't reviewed it for a few months, I think, and maybe we all should sit down between now and the next meeting and look at it. And as Chelsea says, if we see something that we think should happen, you know, just read through it and.
Again, it's a living, breathing document.
Yes.
Right, we can always revise it and update it.
Yeah, and I know we changed dates already on it, and some things are on hold, but maybe something will jump out at somebody, and so maybe we should all take a look at it again. Member items and reports. Ted, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Bob?
I just have one thing. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I was going to make a motion. I'll just make the motion. I move that we cancel the 2021 Cruisers Appreciation Day due to COVID. That way it's on the record, and
The 21,
the 2021.
yeah, 2021.
Yeah, this
That's
year's,
yours.
this year's Cruisers Appreciation Day. I don't know if that's appropriate motion, but.
Second.
With Ted, any discussion? I think we pretty much had, actually. Chelsea had brought it up that I should bring up to council, and I said, well, I didn't think anybody here was really wanting to do that kind of thing this year anyway, so.
I thought I'd bring it up as a motion. Are we
Yes.
discussing now? Just because,
Yeah.
well, it is.
That's the situation,
But we have it, we put a little bit in the budget for it, and we want to keep it going every year. So if we put on the record that we cancel it this year,
I'm hoping in the
Still be an
future we
ongoing
can
thing.
do it like next year, because I think it
yeah.
was something positive for, and in fact, in our strategic plan, I think, and Austin has certainly talked to me about trying to do something more often than just the once a year, you know, of some sort. But certainly, I would like to do it in the future, but yeah, I think we.
Did forget to mention that they did start the Cruisers Net again on Wednesday at 9:30.
Channel's that on again?
It'll be, they start on 63, but I think it ends up on 68 or 17. I don't remember. I gotta check.
Posted in the office.
Yeah, it is posted.
Okay. Somebody in the Anchorage running it, or?
I think a guy at Matanzas dock is.
Okay. All in favor of Sam's motion? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Sam. Anything else?
That's it.
Public comment?
Certainly. Helen, Ball 23. I just wanted to let you know that I've had nothing but positive experiences with Matanzas as the upland provider. There's only one hiccup, and it wasn't their fault, and I had come back from 2 weeks in the Keith, water on my ball. And it was Martin Luther King Day, so the city was closed, and the person at Matanzas wasn't too sure what to do, and I think next time I would just call the cops. But otherwise, it's been a very positive experience.
Thank you.
I have a comment relating to Helen's comment. I think it's great that, Austin, that we're sharing our DACWA occupancy with law enforcement. That way, any questions, at least they have the information available of people that shouldn't be there.
And to be clear, they only have rights to view the person and the boat and the contact information. They don't have any other rights to do anything else.
So
Just
that if
have
someone's
viewing,
where they shouldn't,
Their
viewing rights.
information.
they can
Yes.
enforce if somebody's where they shouldn't be according to that
Exactly.
site. That's great.
Yeah, and just so you know, Matanzas had no record of this individual occupying that ball because they hadn't checked.
We have had issues with that before. We continue to try to not have issues with that, but, okay.
Oh, boy. St. Patty's Day, it looks like the 17th. No. Yeah, it does, because there's,
Yeah, it's
Yep, 'cause there's
28
28
days,
days and-
so it is the 17th.
well, Ray Murphy has canceled the parade, so we all should be able to make it down here for that meeting.
Same agenda, I think. And status of where we are with stuff.
Adjourn. Sam Lurie, I move to adjourn.
Al Beasley, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
9:37.
Record time.
Well, you know, we have important things to double check on, but we don't have major issues.
And the minutes.
One
Yeah, I
more
will. I don't have a copy